Here we go. Hall of Fame columnist John McClain with us on 365 Sports. John, thanks for your time. So has anything jumped out at you? There were some more decisions and, I guess, contracts offered and whatever today agreed upon. Anything in particular the first 2 days of free agency that kind of brings more attention to that than anyone else?
Well, there's a lot of things that have stood out. One of them is that the Cowboys don't have a running back. I thought sure they were going to get Derrick Henry. Maybe they were in the running with Derrick Henry. I don't know. I'm guessing not, since they haven't spent more. And the way Dan Quinn is rating the defense, and the Cowboys have the money that they can keep them if they want to, and they all know what they're doing. But they're losing some key players, and there's still a lot of players out there. There's a lot of free agents, and there's still a lot of really good players too. And it's not surprising to me that a lot of running backs have signed. People are like, oh, they're getting $10 million. If you look at the contract, though, they got to do a lot of things to reach $10 million. And it's like musical chairs. If you're a running back and you get an offer, you better take it because you don't want to be the one without chair. And Derrick Henry going to Baltimore, I think, is the best signing I've seen so far because they run the ball more than any other team. They lead the league in rushing. They got Lamar Jackson. And when you're doing run-pass options with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, it's a little more effective than if it's with J.K. Dobbins, Justice Hill, or Gus. My mind's gone blank.
Gus Edwards.
Gus Edwards went to the Chargers. So I think that's a big-time signing. And people talked about how Henry slowed down. He had a run last year against the Texans in which he hit 23 miles an hour, which is fast. And he did 3 years ago. He didn't play that season. He didn't play a lot of carries early in his career either. So he's not used up, and I think that is the best signing I've seen that can have an immediate impact. You know, pass rushers, great if you have a pass rusher. But like Minnesota had Danielle Hunter, he had 16.5. Did that help them get in the playoffs? No. But a running back can control the offense, and he can keep the defense fresh. So that's why I like Derrick Henry, number one.
John, the Texans got Joe Mixon today. They've made a couple other moves. The linebacker from Tennessee, Al-Shakir, who I think is a pretty exciting player. What do you think about what they've done so far?
Well, we knew that Jonathan Bernard was going to leave. They put a budget on players, and if they can get the player within the budget, they'll do it. If not, they're gone. So we knew Jonathan Bernard was gone. We knew their linebacker, Blake Cashman, was probably gone. And so they got Azeez Al-Shakir from the Titans. He was there 1 year after playing for D'Amico Ryans with the 49ers. And the new Titans GM, Rand Cawthorn, signed him because he had been with the 49ers. He led them in tackles, was voted a captain. Everybody loved him. They tried to keep him, but he wanted to be reunited with D'Amico Ryans. And Danico Autry at 33 had 11.5 sacks for the Titans, and he tormented the Texans when he played for the Colts and the Titans. So the Texans signed him. And Joe Mixon, the running back, Joe Mixon started 17 games last year, had a little over 1,000 yards. He had 12 touchdowns, including 3 receiving, and he was in the last year of his contract. He had redone his contract, for it was heavily incentive laden, and he had him last year. So they knew one more year, and they weren't going to give him any kind of money. So the Texans, instead of letting them cut him and say another team like Dallas or somebody else that needed a back, maybe it drove up the bidding to where he'd make $6 or $7 million a year. They had 3 7th-round picks. They traded 7 for Mixon, and to make sure they got him on a year when he's going to make 5 and change.
I don't know if he'll ever come close to winning a Super Bowl, John, but he sure has made a lot of money. Kirk Cousins now heading off to Atlanta. They clearly had a need there at quarterback, to say the least, and it seems like they got a pretty good player to go and fill that hole for Bijan Robinson and company. Your thoughts on Kirk Cousins, another big payday, and now what can be done in Atlanta?
It was so funny. He was an afterthought, a 4th-round pick when RG3 was the first pick for the Redskins in 2012. And Kirk Cousins was very patient. And when RG3 got hurt, he stepped in, did well enough to end up going to Minnesota. And now, if he plays 5 years on this contract, he will have made $400 million. And that's a tribute to his agent as much as it is him. And the fact is, he's won one playoff game. You know, if you think about that, he's won as many playoff games as C.J. Stroud. But he compiles big stats. He has a reputation of not winning big games in prime time or big games. But the fact is, great guys, good leader. They have receivers, running backs. They have good tight end, good offensive line. So I was smart of him to go there and smart of them to sign him because they can jack up ticket prices because their fans are so excited after watching them fail with Desmond Ritter and Taylor Heineke.
John, is there really a salary cap hell, or is there always a way out?
There's always a way out, David. You can keep pushing it down the road. And what that means is if a player's signing bonus is a 4-year deal for $100 million, then that means against the cap it counts $25 million a year. Your base salary can be a minimum, say it's like Russell Wilson, 1.21. So that means the player's going to get $26.21 million that season. So at the end, when all the money is due, you keep pushing it back. You turn the base salary into signing bonus and you prorate it like that. But eventually it's all going to come back out at once. If the cap keeps going up like it has, teams can do that. But at some point, you're going to be in salary cap hell and have to bite the bullet.
John, who to you is the most intriguing free agent still out there?
Danielle Hunter, the pass rusher from Minnesota. He's from here. Texans are interested. He's going to go where he gets the most money. He's 29. He has 16 and a half sacks. And there's still safeties. You know, I do it based on what the Texans need. They signed a bunch of players. They still need another safety to play with Jalen Reed. Jimmy Ward, the other starter, gets hurt every year like he did last year. And Petrie played with second, third, and fourth safeties all signed off the street after the season began because of injury. So there's safeties out there, but, you know, everybody loves those. Everybody loves pass rushers that have a lot of stats, so I'm going to say Hunter.
Are there more good free agent contracts on the opening 24 hours or during the opening 24 hours or worse?
I think that it's hard to say. I don't know. You know, everybody runs out there and gets them immediately, and then there's still a lot more to do. And the reason they even have what's called legal tampering periods, everybody was doing it illegally, and they're still doing it illegally because you're not supposed to talk to free agents from other teams. And at the combine, they do that, and they can't prove it, so you get away with it. But really, it's made tomorrow at 3 o'clock not nearly as much fun as it used to be when it was gentlemen start your engines. It's always amazing to me how a team like the Raiders in like 2 minutes can have a deal done for Wilkins, defensive tackle, and they are the fastest negotiators in history.
John, it was quiet around here because Baylor didn't have much in the way of prospects like they did maybe a couple years ago. But just any lasting impressions from the combine? Anything significantly change? Any thoughts one way or the other as far as the draft and some of the main storylines?
A lot of people think, Greg, that because everybody jumped on these running backs, they're not impressed with the running back class. I don't buy that at all. I think you can get veterans really cheap now. And if you don't draft a back in the first 2 rounds, you can get them really cheap there. Like the Texans still have Dameon Pierce, their leading rusher 2 years ago. Now they've signed Joe Mixon. I know they're going to draft a running back at some point to give them some more competition. So I can't wait to see where in the draft, they're a great draft for offensive tackles, wide receivers, and cornerbacks. And one of those positions with the Texans, they still need corners. And so I can't wait for the draft. But we got our second wave coming up. A lot of guys are taking visits now. And then when we get to June, there's going to be players go, ooh, I thought I was going to get more than that. Now I'm going to have to take minimum in a 1 year make it deal. I love 1 year make it deals because you're going to get the best from that player has. Like the Texans signed cornerback Jeff Okudah from Grand Prairie. He was the 3rd overall pick in 2020 by the Lions. And there's not been a corner drafted higher. First 2 years, injuries killed him. Came back the 3rd year, started 15 games, wasn't very good, and ended up going to Atlanta last year on a 1 year deal. Texans signed into a 1 year make it deal. He's still only 25, but he knows if he plays well, he's got a chance at 26 to make some good money.
Hey, what was your reaction when the Big 12 a few weeks ago released the combine that's going to be like all teams in Arlington, or excuse me, in Frisco at one time? Is that a unique? It's a unique deal. Do you feel like we might see more of that?
I don't know. That's Jerry Jones and Stan Kroenke in L.A. have been trying to steal the combine now for the last few years. Everybody in the league likes it in Indianapolis, but money talks.
No, I'm talking about the combined pro day that all of the Big 12
the pro days, okay.
Yeah,
pro days. I think, hey, if you can do it, the scouts love it because they don't have to spend as much money to go out to every school. Or I think that if you could do more of that, have one like in Frisco, and then you have 4 or 5 more around the country, it would save everybody so much money.
John Baylor in the Big 12 tournament, the number, 4 seed? 4 seed? 3 seed. Number 3 seed. Did not finish well in Lubbock against Texas Tech, but they seem to have explosiveness, and then there's just little chunks of like 5 minutes that get them in trouble. Your thoughts about the Bears as they enter March Madness?
I think that's what can happen when you have young players. I saw ESPN mock draft at Walker going 8th and Missy 21st. And I said, Missy's going to get pushed all the way out of the NBA down to the D-League if he comes out after a freshman, and you're going to run into it. I'm not really concerned about the Big 12. I'm only concerned, like everybody else, about the NCAA tournament. But it'd be great if they had some momentum. I'd like to see them get another shot at the Cougars.
Thank you, John. Appreciate your time.
Thank you, guys. Second.
John McClain, Hall of Fame columnist, with us most every Tuesday in the 5 o'clock hour. Appreciate his time as always.